lovers, it's the 7th of August 2021, which means that it is time for me to plan and plant, hi kitty, my fall, winter and spring gardens. So stay tuned while I take you through all the steps of how I plan when to plant what. Coming right up. Now, I did make a video very similar to this one last year, coincidentally on August 7th as well, but I'm doing things a little bit differently this year. And I will share with you some of the differences along the way. But I do suggest that you go and take a look at that video because I do explain concepts like first frost date and what that means to deciding when to plant things in your garden. So do check out that video. I will leave a link right here. So one of the things that I did last year was I actually planted a late summer garden. So things like cucumbers, etc., that you can succession plant and get another harvest because I do have a long growing season. I did that last year. I am not going to do that this year. I want to be done with my summer crops and I want to really get into fall. I really love fall and winter crops and early spring crops. They're like my favorites. And the summers over here are really long and they do get tiresome after a while. I mean, how many cucumbers and tomatoes and zucchinis can you eat at the end of the day without really getting sick of them? So I did harvest quite a bit this year and I am ready for my cool season crops. So here I have spread all of my seed packets that I am going to be planting over the next week or two. I have classified them into seeds that I am going to plant now for fall harvest, also into seeds that I'm going to plant now for spring harvest, and then I've got seeds that I can plant anytime because they are perennials, and finally there are those seeds that I am not going to plant yet. I am going to wait until the weather gets cooler. And I'm going to explain each of these categories to you. So in the category that says now, plant now for fall harvest, are some of the crops that I have been waiting to plant. Things like peas. I can finally plant peas again, sugar snap peas as well as shelling peas. Things like carrots that prefer the cooler weather. Now's the time that I can start and I can actually succession plant these. And cilantro. It's probably my most favorite herb ever. This and dill, they are my two favorites. And I finally get to be able to plant cilantro again. Cilantro does not like the hot summers that we have here in Northern California. Now all of these I am going to be succession planting, so this is the first of hopefully many successions. In that category are also some of my favorite root vegetables, beets. Now beets I can actually grow all year long here in California, but I do tend to like to plant these in the cooler season because I just feel the leaves, which are also part of the harvest, are just so much fresher tasting during the cooler weather. So beets and turnips I like to plant in late summer so that I can start harvesting in early fall when the weather gets cooler. Now, one thing about beets and turnips, I've made a little bit of a note to myself here, is that I will start these indoors and I will move them into planters during fall. And the reason for that is because I have roly-polies and my roly-polies love any kind of beet, Swiss chard, perpetual spinach, that kind of thing. They will eat it all. So I have to grow these in planters, kind of keep them off the ground. There's less pressure from roly-polies in elevated containers. The next category is seeds that I need to plant now in order to harvest in spring, early spring. And these are my brassicas. I finally get to plant brassicas or cole crops, things like cabbage, kohlrabi, cauliflower, broccoli. Yes, these are cool season crops. So if I get them started now, they will size up, and then during winter they will grow really slowly, but then as soon as the weather starts to warm up in spring, they will take off and I will get an early spring harvest. So that's my brassicas. The other seeds that I will be planting now for a spring, maybe a late spring, actually an early summer harvest, is onions. Now, I've got a video on onions. There are certain things that you need to know about what types of onions grow well in your particular latitude. So look up that video. I will put a link to it above. So go ahead and check out that video as well and learn about the types of onions that you should be growing in order to have success in your latitude. A new category of seeds that I am growing this year that I did not do last year are perennials. Now, I have realized this year that I've got nearly not enough flowers at all as I would like. And so this year I'm going to be starting a lot more perennial flowers and some annuals like pansies that take super long to grow. So I've got things like artichoke as well included in this. I think artichoke's a flower, and it does have beautiful flowers, by the way. And one thing that happened to me this year is that one of my beautiful artichoke plants got eaten by rodents. I had actually named it. I rarely name my plants, but Artie the artichoke died, fell prey to some rodents. So I'm going to start over and maybe I will have Artie too. And then I've got Shasta daisies are something that grow really well in my part of the world. And I am just so shocked that I had only one singular plant in my garden this year. So I'm gonna grow a lot more of these. Black-eyed Susan's another beautiful flower that grows so well in my part of the world, and I love them even more than sunflowers. I'm going to be planting a lot more of these. The pollinators absolutely love them. I hear that salvia grows well too. I've never grown this before, but I'm going to try it this year. I did have a lot of success with black pansies this year, so I'm going to try that one more time. And impatiens, that's another more shade-loving flower, and I've got a lot of shade in my garden, so I'm going to be growing some of those as well. And this final category of seeds, I am going to be planting a little bit later when the weather actually starts to cool off. And that is things like lettuce, Swiss chard, mustard, spinach, and arugula. Now these love it when the weather is cool. They like to actually germinate when the weather is cooler. So I'm going to wait until it cools off substantially before I plant any of these seeds because they just will not thrive. They are very quick growing and they will not thrive in the hot weather. So that's it, folks. Thanks for joining me while I plan out my fall garden. What are you going to be planting this fall or winter or spring? Do leave some comments below. I would love to learn, and I would love to maybe get some more ideas on things that I should be planting as well. Until next time, live green and love your greens.